and feel your boundless grace. We ask that you bless us with knowledge and understanding as we study our lessons for today. Help us, dear Lord, to be obedient to our teachers and to be caring and respectful to our classmates. Be with us, inspire us, and lead us to be more like you. May our doings for today bring honor and glory. In the name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Good day, everyone. For this meeting, we will have our fourth lesson entitled Writings About Places and Cultures, Nature, Travel, and Food Stories. Without further ado, let's go to the discussion. It is said that the Japanese and Koreans have opposite ways of reaching out to the vastness of nature. The Japanese would rather bring back nature home, a Zen garden, a bonsai tree, an ikebana flower arrangement, or a poem about a lover as beautiful as the mountain. On the other hand, the Koreans would rather leave home and see a towering mountain or a rippling river. The Koreans go to nature by actual journey. Such effort is unnecessary for the Japanese. The journey, according to the poet Matsuo Basho, is right here in the home itself. Home is, of course, one of those places found in the nature. Places are the locations of the scenes of an event. These scenes are largely cultural because they involve people, their customs and traditions, way of life, rituals, music, festivals, ceremonies, and history. Places are also connectors. We go out to travel and thereby fulfill the act of connecting. Once there, we do as the Japanese do, bring nature to something very close to us, home, our body. Food expresses our relationship with nature because we get it from nature. Our ways of life and living revolve around it, for without it, we will die. We partake of it for pleasure and for the joys of sharing it with the family and community. Now let us proceed with the first type of writing that we will be discussing for today. We have the nature writing, or the stories about our connection with the natural environment. Living and non-living objects found on the surface of the earth without human involvement make up the natural environment. We harness these natural objects for purposes that are vital to our livelihood and lifestyle. We get involved with the natural environment either by taking care or abusing it. Its beauty amazes us, but we are also horrified by the catastrophe it can bring. Nature is not only something out there, as in indoors, as in outdoors, but also something that encloses our lives. Poems, stories, movies, songs, or paintings have made nature their object and subject. You might say that our nature is to be part of nature. Look around you. Count how many objects did not spring from nature. Nature is so integral to our lives that we barely notice it anymore. Our life is actually populated by objects derived from nature: cups, plates, water, air, rice, fish, books, paper. So I look at nature much closer to home. In backyards, on our plates, with respect to our everyday lives, says Michael Pollan, an American author, journalist, activist, and professor of journalism who devotes his writings to the relationship between places, nature, and culture. And how can we bring nature into writing? In a talk at the Nieman Conference on narrative journalism way back in 2006, Michael Pollan presented the 7 principles of writing about nature. And here are the 7 principles. The first one, you need to know that stories don't have to be about humans, okay? Narratives are conventionally understood as being composed of characters, actions, and scenes. But Pollan argues that characters don't have to be human. I've told stories about plants or animals, he said, and their history and used their point of view to animate my story. You can write a story about how water flows from place to place. You can also write about arguments or ideas like animal rights and people promoting them. Next, we need to have systems and to follow those systems. An ecological system is like a mind with its attention darting from one idea to the next. Follow it and it will take you to different places. When you do this, you're basically following a non-human natural system. So again, you need to follow system and the stories don't have to be about humans. Third one, you have follow your subject all the way to why readers should care about it. Avoid shortcuts. Don't just state dry facts like this organic phosphorus insecticide is neurotoxic. What you need to do is to explain why this would really matters to the readers. So you need to explain, 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 and explain. Next, number 4. Use the first person strategically. Don't write in the I to confess who you are. Choose only the part of you, who you are, that is crucial to the story. If you love eating meat or vegetable, then choose either in writing about meat or vegetable. You may also start from where your readers are. Address the vegetarians or the carnivores among them. Okay, so you do not necessarily need to use the first person point of view at all the times. Okay, you can go into third person or second person point of view if you can. Okay, you do not have to be consistently in the first person point of view. Number 5, write as an amateur. Why? Beginning your piece by understanding how little you know about your subject or how little you knew before you started researching can bring you closer to where your readers are. So not all of your readers are professionals or very knowledgeable about what you are trying to read or what you are trying to write about. Okay? A lot of them are just as clueless as you could be. Okay? So by doing this, by writing as an amateur, you are somewhat creating a connection between you, the writer, and them, the readers. So your ignorance can lead you on a journey to new knowledge. Okay? So once again, ignorance could help you. Showing that you are an amateur can definitely help you out on garnering or getting more readers. Next up, you have number 6, write with humor. When writing naively, humor comes naturally. Humorous situations are often the outcome of ignorance. Find something absurd, ironic, or paradoxical in nature, which is how humor usually occurs with humans. Nature is a way of humbling humans. This could be breakdown of conceits and arrogance being a source of laughter among humans. So what does this mean? It just says that by writing naively, humor comes. Okay? So yeah, just make the story not as serious but still having this sense of seriousness in it. Okay, we do not want a story that is so dead on serious to the point that you do not have any enjoyment of reading it. We want entertainment. You want your readers to enjoy it, and the best way to do that is to have them have a good laugh, to let them see the humor behind it. Okay, next, and number 7, build suspense. The simplest of things can give suspense. Opening your piece with a question, what's going to happen, can already put your readers in suspense. The question you pose will determine if readers will keep reading or drop you. So, just like every literary compositions, you want your readers to be hooked into the story. So, another example of, or one of the main examples of hooking your readers to the story is by stating a question that will definitely be ingrained in their minds. Okay, and then the very common example of this is what is going to happen next, right? Remember the excerpt entitled Cleopatra when we read it around, I guess, lesson number 2 of this quarter. And it is said that at the end of the excerpt, we saw that Cleopatra got this horrified expression, and all of those people around her got the horrified expression after having seeing the contents of the box. Okay, and that eventually gave us, the readers, this idea of what's going to happen next. Okay, where is the justice? Who did it? Okay, so that is what you want here, to build the suspense. Okay, to make the readers hook up to the story to the point that they want to read the story from start till the end. Next, we have travel writing. So travel writing is something like this.
Jag kan beställa om jag vill ta en museum.
Travel writing, or stories about movement around the world and the world's movement around us. Travel evokes movement to far away and foreign places, just like what we've saw. We hear stories of this or that distant land with its unusual and extraordinary landscape and people's customs and traditions. That could be the reason why there's a lot of foreigners here in the Philippines, just like what the vloggers that we've watched did. Okay, they are visitors, they are foreigners who is visiting the Philippines at that date of the vlog. Now, travel stories are one of the oldest and most universal literary genres. In the Bible, we read about Abraham on his journey following God's commandment to go to a place he had never seen before. The Indian epic Mahabharata tells us the journey of the Pandava brothers across India and their ascent to the heavenly mountain of Mount Meru in the Himalayas. Today, we can reach these faraway places by reading travel books and magazines, watching travel shows on televisions, or surfing the internet. Through these activities, we can see the world moving around us as others move around the world. How does one start traveling? That is the question. And according to the philosopher Lao Tzu, a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. The journey might be epic, it could be involve 1,000 miles, or restricted, it could only be traveling within the same country or immediate locality. For example, we can say that the travel is epic if you, who is living here in the Philippines, would travel all the way, go to, let's say, Denmark, okay, or Greenland, or Iceland, or even Antarctica, or even to the moon, right? However, we can also say that a journey could also be a single step, or a journey could also be restricted, but it is still considered as a journey as long as you left your house or as long as you did something, okay? In a sense that you did a single step. For example, you went out of your house to go to the market. That could be a journey. A journey of you going to the market. A journey of you going to the mall. A journey of you going to your friend's house. A journey of you going upstairs or downstairs to the basement, to the attic. Now the question here is, why do we need to travel? Well, as a matter of fact, life is a journey. Okay, this is supported by Susan Orlean, who says that I view all stories as journeys of the human experience, from birth to death, from ignorance to knowledge, from where to stand and where we end. Life is a journey. Everything that you do is part of a journey. Okay, so we travel. Journey is a travel. Okay, we journey, we venture out to the world, we venture out from the comfort of our homes, and that's already part of a journey. And why do we do it? Because we're alive. Okay, that is norms. That is a part of our life. Okay, and to not travel is very hard. As a matter of fact, I do believe that you already experienced it during the lockdown period. Having this liberty of going outside whenever we want, as long as it is not, as long as we are, in good terms with the household rules. For example, not going beyond 8 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the evening is acceptable, right? But during those time of lockdown, we cannot go outside to do the things that we usually do, right? We cannot go and see our friends. You cannot go outside and have a meal on a restaurant. We cannot see our special someones, and we cannot basically do the things that we usually do when we are having this freedom of traveling. Okay, so our life there as a journey is somewhat being restricted to the confines of our own home. Okay, but still, it is a journey. Okay, the confines of our home might be not as big as the whole Lipa City or as the whole Philippines, but still, we are in a journey. Now, the question here is, how can we write a good travel writing? Okay, we have the 9 commandments of travel writing here. The first one is to think of one's travel writing as someone else. Okay, you should treat it not as a travel book, but a history, a memoir. In other words, a story. Think of travel writing not just as a travel book or as a guide. Okay, think of a travel writing as a story itself. Okay, as a recollection of what happened, and not just something out of formality that you need to write this just because you want to publicize it or something. You're going to write this just because you want to share what happened to you to other people. You want to share your experiences. You want to share your happiness. You want to share those emotions that you felt. Okay, so that's the first commandment. Second commandment is this: you need to regard travel writing as a quest, a question. Getting lost, frustrated, the stumbles and uncertainties along the way make you deeply seated in the journey. In other words, it is unforgettable. So make your journey just like in a game, a quest. Okay, that have this certain goals, and whatever happens, that it could be some unfortunate events for you. You might get lost, you might get frustrated, bad things could happen, but still those things would make the travel that you've got, the journey that you're having, unforgettable. Okay, so just go with it. That's the second commandment. The third one is this: to view a travel writer as more of a writer than a traveler. The travel writer is first and foremost a writer. The best travel books are written by poets and novelists. Once again, you are a travel writer, not just some traveler. Okay? You are a writer who is traveling. You need to put that in your mind in order to create a good travel writing. Okay? You are a writer who is traveling and not a traveler only. Okay? Next, fourth, to write about travel in order to teach something. Details and pieces of information must feel like a crunchy piece of popcorn that you can't stop eating. There goes the excitement of the people who is reading. The hook. Once again, there comes the hook. Okay, you want your readers to be hooked to the story itself. Fifth, you want to create a world where even mundane things like going to the movies, walking down the street, picking up the phone book feel like adventures. And how could you do that? That is through creativity alone. Okay, you need to use the proper words, use the proper statements, and you can create those words or those feelings, those atmosphere on your writing. Next, to turn one eye toward the reader and the other to the subject. You need to keep in mind that as a writer, you want your readers to understand you, but you also want your subject to not be misinterpreted. Okay? So you need to be very careful on that, to not misinterpret what you're trying to tell them just for them to know or just for them to understand what you are trying to tell them. Okay? There must be perfectly balanced, just like what Thanos said. Perfectly balanced, just all things should be. Okay? Next. To listen and talk to the place, there is always something unanswered when you reach a certain place. Talk to it by checking for some background information about it. Follow an inner compulsion to be there. So while we are traveling or while we're on a journey, there are things that you don't know. Okay, the thing that you can do in order to fill that emptiness or that void in your knowledge is by talking to other people. Okay, talking either to yourself, talking to the locals, talking to other people, I guess, other guides there, other tourists, okay, for ideas on where to go next. Okay, you need to follow an inner compulsion in yourself. For example, where can I find this type of place? Okay, then you might be, for example, in order to know the answer, then you might use the internet or the help of other people, the locals, right? So you need to strive to know more about that place. Next, the eighth commandment is to not necessarily go that far. Henry David Thoreau's Walden is partly a memoir and a spiritual quest about his 2 years of sitting still in a house by the pond. Imagine that. He made a travel writing about his 2 years of life inside his home. Okay? I know that is amusing. How could he do that? Okay, you don't need to necessarily go that far. You don't need to go to Baguio just to make a travel writing. You don't need to go to Ilocos just to make a travel writing. You don't need to go to America or to Britain just to make a travel writing. Okay, you need to have the creativity. You need to have the certain inspirations. Okay, the certain aspirations of you guys. You just need to have it. And you can do it even on the simplest thing forms of journey or traveling. And the last one is you need to remember that in the end, every great work of travel writing is also about an inner journey, just like what I've told you earlier. It is about journey, your self-journey, self-reflection, self-realization. Okay, inner journey. What have you learned on this travel? What have you learned on your journey? Okay, that is all about. That is the travel writing. Now, we are done with nature writing. We're also done with travel writing. Let's now proceed to the last type of writing that we will discuss for today. It is food writing. But before that, I want you to read this one or watch this one.
Welcome to another episode of Chopstick Travel. I'm Luke, and today we are super excited to announce that we are in the Philippines. So this is the start of our new Manila series where we're going to be eating everything from street food to village food and to some really high-end stuff too. So we've got a whole trip planned today. It's our first day. We just landed last night, and we are going on a tour of the Quiapo area and also the Binondo, which is the Chinatown. So we're here, and it is bright and early, only 7:30 a.m. We're going to start eating. So I'm here with Key. She's going to be showing us around, or otherwise known as Foodie Mama PH. You can check her out on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So where are we right now?
We're here in Quiapo Market. It is the center of Manila, so we're just going to be walking around, eating around all day.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to eat, so let's get started. So yes, we are here in the Philippines after much anticipation and lots of people asking us to come. We're finally here, and Fee is going to be showing us around for the next 7 days. So actually, she just spotted someone selling something that was really interesting, so we're going to order it up. So what is this, Fee?
Yeah, it's soft silky tofu with like caramelized brown sugar and pearls. We call it taho.
And that's food writing, guys, for you, or stories about food. Now, you've probably heard the expression food for thoughts, which means being fed not by food but by ideas. It came from the old Germanic word fodhian and the Old English fedan, which means to nurture or sustain. Food is our metaphor for something that needs feeding or nourishing in us. Our mind needs food as much as our stomach. Humans are generally omnivores. We have a variety of food sources in diet, including plants, animals, cooked or raw food, preserved or fresh, dried or wet, instant or slow cooking. We're always cooking up excuses to eat. Most of these excuses are part of our cultural traditions: weddings, birthdays, fiestas, graduation, baptism, Christmas, Valentine's Days, funerals, Every day is a reason to eat and celebrate. As such, food writing is not exclusively about food. It encompasses other genres of writing. It could encompass nature writing, travel writing, memoir, journalism, history, novels, poems, cookbooks, and recipes. Now, how are you going to compose and consume food words? Given that there are many things to write about food, there are also several ideas on how to write about it as practiced by food writers and accepted by readers. The first and foremost is food is not only about its nutritional value. Food mirrors our values, beliefs, institutions, politics, economics, taste, and preferences. As food is life-giving, the focus of food writing is life itself. Second, food writing covers the human aspect. Eating in the company of friends, family, loved ones, or a special guest makes the simplest of meals a delicious delight. It does the same to food writing. Third, food writers respect the readers. Readers have different tastes of food preferences. Don't be a food snob who judges one food as superior to another. Fourth, readers are not only looking for information. We eat to relax or be entertained. In the company of others, we gather valuable information or lessons about life and living. The same applies to food writing. Next, you don't necessarily have to be a good cook, a gastronome, or epicure. You don't have to develop a refined taste for food or be a food expert. Become a logophile, a lover of words, and cook a succulent narrative. Now, here are the ingredients of a food writer. The first ingredient is this: make the senses partake of a feast. Remember that food is not only there to be tasted, but also to be enjoyed. Now, example of this one is this. You want to make the readers see the luscious colors of ripe fruit and savor their ripeness. Here we got our sense of sight and our sense of taste here. Next, you can also make them hear the crunchiness of a green mango or guava. Here we have the sense of hearing. Okay. Next, the second sense or the second basic ingredient is this one. You need to use moderate seasoning. This is the equivalent of show, don't tell. Except in writing recipes where accuracy is the rule, do not tire your readers with adjectives such as tasty, delicious, yummy. Make their senses taste them all. Do not overuse those adjectives. You need to show it to them, and they will decide whether that food that you're talking about is tasty, delicious, or anything else. Next, number 3. Third ingredient is you need to use specific ingredients. In other words, use concrete, specific, and clear words. For example, sugary is better than sweet. Next, number 4, you need to whip up some action. Show what happens after doing something. After describing the taste of the cake, describe what happens when you slice into it. Create a film in your reader's mind. So you need to use the imagery on this one, okay? Make them imagine the food, imagine the smell, imagine the look of it, imagine the taste of it, imagine how it would be so fulfilling to eat. Next is dash with descriptive spice. This is the 5th one. Food writing entails describing food which can be spiced up by using metaphor or simile. So yeah, you can use figurative language to spice up your food writing. Now, that's it. We've already talked about nature writing, travel writing, and now we are already done with the food writing. Now, I want you to remember at the end of this discussion that just as how essential nature, food, and traveling is for us humans, fear and love of God, respect, accountability, compassion, and excellence is very important too. For us to become a better person who loves the idea, the image of God. And that's it for today. Now, for your activity, this is to be done. If you have time right now, you can start doing it because I suggest you do it right now. But the submission of it is still on the next week. It will be a part of the next week lesson. Okay, so if you have your SDLB there, I suggest that you look into it and see what I'm trying to tell you guys. So you need to open up and answer complete Q2 lesson 4 underscore creative nonfiction underscore Sir Michael underscore worksheet number 3. So let's look into it. And this is the worksheet number 3. Once again, you need to write down your name, your section, and your strand. And here's the direction. Read and analyze the stories below, stories, which means there is more than one story here, and answer the questions at the end of each one. Yeah, so this is the story. It is entitled Lake Star King, written by John Muir. So I'm going to give you the privilege of reading it on your own. You can once again take a screenshot of this one or just look at it in the internet. Okay, so yeah. Good luck, guys, on this one. This is kinda, long read, but I've given you a lot of time to read this one. Please look again into your SDLP. Okay? So here is the link to it. If you want, then you can use this link in order for you to know where is the whole story of this one. Okay, but this is just an excerpt, so bear in mind that what you might see on this excerpt is the whole story of it, which is very, very long. Believe in me, because I've tried to read it all. Okay, now the question here are as follows. How did Muir populate his narrative about the lakes with non-human elements? How did he characterize the lakes? You need to write it down here. What different systems did the author follow? Where did he begin? And where did the path lead him to? Next, was there any point of the story at which you started to care? What significant idea did you learn? How did the writers use the first person enhance his contact with the readers? How did the writer show that he was an amateur when it comes to lakes? What part of the writer's story did you find humorous and why? And how did the writer create tension and anticipation of the story? So this is an example of what? This is an example of a nature writing, Lake Star King. Next, we have an example of travel writing, written by Orhan Pamuk, entitled Istanbul Memories and the City. So yeah, you know what to do. Read it, analyze it, and answer the following questions at the end of it. Okay, so you can pause, you can take a screenshot, or you can just find the whole story in the internet. So here is the source. I think I do not have the link on this one because I took this one from the book, and so I suggest that you just need to pause the video, take a screenshot of it, and read it on your own. Okay, so yeah, there it is. Now the questions are as follows. Did you feel that you were reading another genre in Pamuk's piece? If yes, what genre and why? What was the writer's quest or question? What triggered it in his mind? Did the writer exhibit a primacy of being a writer more than a traveler? How? What makes the journey to the Milky Way the greatest of travels, as the writer implicitly indicates in the last paragraph of the article? Or did the writer manage to create a sense of adventure? Did you have feeling traveled with the writer? How? Yun. 7. How did the writer listen and talk to Istanbul? How did the writer show that the travel writer does not have to go anywhere far? Where did he went as a journey? And 9. What inner journey did you see in Pamuk's movement from one place to the next? So 9 questions on the last story. The first one, we've got around 7 questions. So 7 and 9, that will be 16 questions all in all. This is your worksheet number 3. Good luck, and you've got a lot of days to do this. So I'm expecting you guys to do it on your own. Okay, I want you guys to give all you've got on this one. You can do it. Let's go back to our discussion, and yeah. So that is worksheet number 3. Once again, please refer to your SDLP to know the days that you're going to do it, okay? And the resources are as follows: the YouTube videos. We've got these resources also for the images and other things that I've used on this PowerPoint presentation. And special things, once again, the Slides Carnival and Splash. And the book I'm still using is The Creative Nonfiction from Vibal, written by Lorna Q. Israel. And yeah, thanks guys for watching, and staying till the end of the video. And I'll see you guys on the next video, probably on next week. Bye bye.